Welcome back to the Varsity Voices, your home for Chicago Catholic League football. I'm Joe Frevaletti, here with my co-host Dan Frevaletti, and tonight we are breaking down a wild weekend across the Chicago Catholic League. Brother Rice planted a flag with a statement at Loyola. Nazareth edges ice in a back-and-forth thriller. Joliet Catholic stuns Marist on the final snap with a busted field goal turned touchdown. Marmion rolls past De La Salle, and Marian Catholic kind of found its stride with a win over Leo. We'll hit the turning points, standout performers, and what it all means heading into next week. And let's get to it. So, Dan, how do you feel about week 4 in the Chicago Catholic League this week? You and I talked about it a little bit prior to coming on the air tonight or recording this episode. What are your thoughts about what you saw this week?
Yeah, so we break down the games and we kind of split it in half, kind of to be able to do each game justice, right? And so I
Right.
try and watch
Yeah.
as much as I can. The games felt a little. Most of the games I watched, there weren't many dominating performances in some of these victories. The team seemed a little. I don't know that it just maybe just it wasn't there, but a little flat maybe to me.
Mid-season? Kind
Maybe
of
a little
week
mid-season,
4,
a
mid-season?
little
Yeah,
little
maybe.
dog days type of
Yeah.
thing going on, and there were great games. Don't get me wrong, but I'm only watching on the computer, so you
Right.
can't
You
really
weren't
see
there.
anything. Yeah. And there's
Right.
some big
Yeah.
plays and that, but it just had a feel of teams kind of everyone was throwing jabs, right?
Yeah.
And the games I
Yeah.
watched. So again, those were that was not all the games, but it just seemed like everyone was kind of a little bit of a dog day in week 4. How
Yeah.
about you? What about the games
Well,
you followed, Joe?
well, you know what? I
Review.
wanted to tell our listeners, Dan, that you and I kind of split up the games when it comes to our recap episode,
Right.
this episode, right? And
Mhm.
let's not forget we're going to mention Zuko's Dog of the Week as
Yes.
well. But some of the games that I followed or I was looking at didn't quite meet the same kind of description of some of the games that you watched.
Yeah.
And so let me start right away with Brother Rice and Loyola. And you and I talked about this as far as being a big game, could be a statement game for either one of these teams, right? And if I do go back to the tape of our prognosticus episode, Dan.
Yeah.
If you are looking to buy or sell a home, contact RE/MAX Realtor and Circle of Legends recipient Christopher Cobb. Let Chris's extensive negotiating experience work to guide you on all of your real estate buying and selling needs. Contact Christopher now to discuss the right strategy for your personalized real estate buying and selling plan. His number is 630-420-0070, or you can visit his website at christophercobb.com.
I think I might have picked Brother Rice and you might have picked Loyola.
Okay.
All right, but that's not my main point here. My main point was I think part of my reason for picking Brother Rice was their experience as well as some of the players they have, some of the star players they have that experience as well. And that kind of showed up in this game. I think Brother Rice really dominated Loyola, which to me was a bit of a big surprise. I mean, they come out with a 28-6 victory over Loyola. CJ Gray answered the call in this game. I think he threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for another 2 touchdowns. But I think the big story in this game was Brother Rice's defense, led by that defensive front. You've got King Liggins. You've got, why are the names escaping me right now, Dan? Or Cam McGee is the other one. They showed up and they showed up big time in this game. And I think by the time the third quarter came around, I really felt like in watching some of the film that Loyola was kind of done in the third quarter. And they're like, you know what? I think I don't want to play anymore. Yeah, I hate to say that about any team, but I think
Right.
Brother Rice really showed how dominant they can possibly be and how well-rounded of a team they are. running the ball, throwing the ball, and defense just swarming defense. So I feel like in this game, obviously Brother Rice got the win. They moved to 4-0, which is huge. And I think they put themselves squarely in the state championship, whatever division they end up in. When it gets to that point, I think they put themselves squarely in that conversation.
Yeah, they seem to be playing at that level. They're a highly talented team. Braden Parks is the other D lineman.
Oh, right.
Yeah, with multiple P5 offers, and so they are. Yeah, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with and have to be considered a favorite, Joe, in whatever division they're in. Regardless of who's in it.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the favorites, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
who do you got, Dan?
So I'll stick in the blue. So Mount Carmel defeated Saint Ignatius 41-14. And Joe, it's funny. I was able to watch this game. Saint Ignatius was playing about as well as I've seen them play offensively. They were possessing the ball. They were being frustrating to Mount Carmel, but the game turned like on a dime. Saint Ignatius turns the ball over on downs. Quentin Burrell gets a long touchdown pass. As soon as they stop St. Ignatius again, he returns. I don't know if it was a punt, kickoff for a touchdown, and completely opened up the game and turned it around.
Yeah.
And talking about defense, the game and the offense that St. Ignatius run allowed Caleb Tucker on Mount Carmel as an interior D lineman to really shine. And he showed how dominant he can be at times. Don't get me wrong. I think Ignatius can block anybody, just the way they play and come off the ball. And they're fun to watch if you're into O-line play. But Caleb Tucker was in and made several big plays. And when he does, he kind of eliminates two or three people at the same time. Mount Carmel eventually pulled away, like I said, 41-14. But Ignatius is getting better. You'd hope, they're in a tough division and a tough spot, and they're young and trying to figure it out. So, but for this week, Mount Carmel, same thing again. High-powered, explosive offense, and a 41-14 win.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me. I do like to hear that St. Ignatius kind of put up a fight here, Dan, in this game, and it tells me something about. A little bit about them going forward as far as for the rest of their season, but taking on Mount Carmel for any team in the Chicago Catholic League is a tough draw for sure.
It's a challenge, no doubt about it.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to talk about the IC Nazareth game.
Okay. Yeah.
Another really good game, and this one was not ho hum either. From the standpoint of. IC off to a really good start this year. They were 3-0, right? And we've talked about some of their firepower on both offense and defense. Nate Lang, their quarterback, again, really good in this game. Threw for over 250 yards. I think 2 touchdown passes, a long one to their wide receiver. I believe last name is Schmidt. Will Schmidt. Yeah.
Will Schmidt. Yeah.
Yes. And, IC had the lead here, although it was close, but IC had the lead going into the third quarter. From what I could tell and from some of the comments or some of the people who were at this game were saying is that they felt like IC was kind of in control, even though the game is close. But you and I both know if the game is close and you're playing Nazareth, that is a problem.
You got
right?
So,
yeah. And it's not just that Nazareth has a great offense, really good defense, good special teams, but every single one of those aspects of the game shows up for Nazareth, I think, especially when it counts. And it counted in this game. Naz needed every single aspect of the game. They needed offense. They needed defense to step up. They needed special teams. They got some key turnovers, which in the end, Nazareth somehow, held out, scored a touchdown late, and they edge out IC 24-21. So Naz comes out with a win here. But I think the message here, Dan, is, we know how good Naz is and how talented they are. But for me, and I've been sitting at the round table,
Right.
For the first 3 weeks, although I picked Naz in this game over IC. But I think it really bodes well for IC going forward, especially if they can kind of recover from this loss. It's a tough loss, and I'm sure they wanted this win really bad against a really good opponent. But I think, if I were their coach, I would say, you know what? We are putting this behind us. We are not even waiting 24 hours. You've got 12 hours to think about it, and then we are moving on because we've got something going on here.
Yeah, they should, and that's kind of probably how they should think. I know it probably crushed them to lose that game like that. And like I said, I bet the school was up for grabs all week and they were really excited about it. So I'm sure it's a tough loss. Yeah. But it is one you can build on, and you should feel really good about your team moving forward if you're IC.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Joe. So in that same division, St. Francis with a 17-10 win over St. Rita.
Yeah.
This was one of those games, Joe, that it didn't look like either offense was at their sharpest.
Yeah.
Or perhaps it was just a testament to the defensive play, which was really hard hitting.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a slog, but St. Francis made plays when they had to, and they get a huge win over a St. Rita team that falls to 1-3.
Yeah.
We did not see that coming.
Did not at all.
But St. Francis put St. Rita in a situation, where now they moved to BATW, so that's what they've got to look forward to. And I give a lot of credit to St. Francis defense. Jalen Torres and James McGrath, they brought it. They made St. Rita work for everything, and you could see that they were frustrated a little bit by some of their plays not necessarily not working. It wasn't that swarming defense. It was just kind of keeping everything and making St. Rita earn everything they got.
Yeah.
And so credit to St. Francis. I think we may think of them and talk about them offensively, but they've played really good defense, and they might be getting better and are going to be a force in that division.
Yeah, they are for sure. And, I do find it interesting, just like you said, Dan, there's a couple of teams in the Chicago Catholic League that, if you look at their records right now, and St. Rita being one of them, 4 weeks ago when the season first started, we, no way would we have predicted where some of these teams are at right now. So,
No.
And St. Rita's one of them. There's others, and I'm going to talk about two of them right now, and that was the Marist Joliet Catholic game, and this was this one came down, Dan, to the last play of the game. All right. I mean, it was a hard-fought game the whole time. What we've talked about from a Joliet Catholic standpoint of them trying to kind of find themselves offensively, and relying a little bit more on the pass this year. And, I felt like they did that in this game, but they also, were trying to mix in the run a bit as well. But it did come down to the last play. It was 17-17, and Joliet Catholic is lined up for a field goal with only a couple seconds left on the clock, and they snap the ball. It's a bad snap. Bounces to the center, who is Lucas Similik, their quarterback.
Oh, the holder? Yeah.
The holder. And he picks it up and rolls out. What's the call, Dan, when something like that happens? You as
Typically
a coach know.
Fire.
That's exactly what it was.
Right.
And he hits somebody in the end zone. I'm trying to think of who his name was right now. I'm sorry, I don't have that. But he hit somebody in the end zone, and they score a touchdown, and they win 23-17.
That's how the game ended?
That's how the game ended.
Wow. Yeah.
Right there.
That's pretty intense.
Yes. And their kicker, who I think had kicked a field goal previously in the game, he was, trotting out there, and everybody I think felt pretty confident because they've got a good kicker on Joliet Catholic. But you know how things can happen sometimes, and for sure it happened here. But Joliet Catholic was on the ball, picked it up, threw it into the end zone, scored the touchdown, win 23-17. So they get their first win. So they're 1-3 now. But what's really kind of shocking to me is Marist, who they start out this year 0-4.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So for sure, BATW.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And probably pretty confidently say they're the best 0-4 team in this state. Yeah, I can say that pretty confidently.
Yeah, I can too. Unfortunately, they may not be able to show that because they've got to win out now, right?
Yeah.
To get to that 5-win mark.
Yeah.
In order to guarantee them a spot. So.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge.
It's going to be a real challenge. All right.
Okay. So within that same division, Joe, Providence over Notre Dame, 21-11. I saw, Notre Dame it didn't work, but they had the coolest design fake punt. That was kind of had a lot of players going in different directions, and you think it handed off and we're running an option, and then nope, the one guy who you don't think is doing anything, he's got the football. Now it didn't work, but it was a great design.
All right.
Providence gets a really nice game from Broden. I don't know if you pronounce it Broden or Braden Mackert. They've got a nice running game with their quarterback. Both these teams kind of they are better running the ball, even from the quarterback position, than they are, they don't do a ton in the passing game.
Right.
Notre Dame took the lead in the third quarter. And it was 11-7, I think, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But they did have the lead in the third. And it was at Notre Dame, and that was a good atmosphere. The announcers were really fired up. But Providence came back. Their running game is really good. They come at you in waves. They're really big up front. They run hard. Every player out there runs hard, and they play solid defense. So it's a good win for Providence. It's another building block in a loss, which I know coaches just hate to hear, but it's a building block in a loss for Notre Dame and Coach DeFranza.
Yeah,
but they are definitely better, especially defensively. They're pretty good, but just did not have enough to stick with Providence, and Providence gets the victory 21-11.
Yeah, I feel like Coach DeFranza has them on the right track, right? And I can't necessarily point to anything other than, how Notre Dame has been over the last couple of years or 2-3 years, but I feel like the games that they're playing, and obviously they've got a couple wins already this year, which is really good. But, I feel like they've taken the next step in his first year here, and they're building something there. So, I'll be interested to see how they do going forward with some of the other games. They got some tough games coming up, obviously, but I think Coach DeFranza has them on the right path for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so DePaul Prep and St. Patrick, Dan, and I'm going to declare right now that I could find absolutely no information on this game.
It was a great game.
It was a great game, other than the score. So
right.
St. Pat beats DePaul Prep 31-28.
Yeah.
All I could find was that this game did come down to the wire. And St. Pat's, who we know under their new coach, Coach Zibikowski, they've had a pretty good start to the year as well. But for me, I think that this win for St. Pat's over DePaul Prep is probably something that they would really celebrate, considering
it's a statement win.
It's a statement win. And what I did see was the footage of them singing their fight song after the win, and I could tell that they were pumped, right?
Yeah.
And they should be, because they haven't had very good several years here, and to beat last year's state champs in DePaul Prep, that is a statement win, like you said, for St. Pat's.
Yeah, and they look like a team that's also getting better and better and better and figuring things out as they go.
Yeah.
They're we thought they were going to be heavy run. We didn't know about Gavin Gardner kind of surprised us.
Yeah,
But
right.
he's been really good, and they've got a nice running game as well as that. And what we have talked about a million times is that they've got the gigantic offensive line.
They do have.
That's
Yes.
doing a really nice job. So
They are,
good for Coach
obviously.
Zibikowski. Yeah.
Yeah, he's obviously got them moving in the right direction. And, you both of these teams have a tough draw next week. Dan, DePaul Prep, they play Loyola. DePaul Prep, would you categorize them as BATW at this point?
For
Yeah,
sure.
me
Their
too.
schedule's really tough.
And St. Pat's has to play Brother Rice, who is really clicking right now. So, both of these teams have a tough go next week, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. St. Pat's seems to have some momentum behind them. DePaul Prep seems to be trying to find themselves here, but we'll be watching the games, Dan.
Yeah. Well, Joe, another team that it's sticking in that division, the purple division. So purple plays blue. So I know Bennett plays Mount Carmel next week, but before they get to that, they did defeat St. Viator 21-13.
Okay.
And this was Luke Doyle, big punt return. So they were good in the kicking game again. They've got a few touchdowns in their kicking in the return game this year.
Yeah.
So Luke Doyle took 165 yards and had another long return to set up a touchdown. Joe Salvino had right around 100 yards rushing, and
really?
Bennett showed a really strong running game. They've kind of found a little thing that that they seem to be getting into a groove with kind of Salvino and the quarterback Ben Clevenger, doing some running. So found that seems to be working for him, allows him to possess the ball a little bit and kind of chunk their way, little chunks down the field.
Right.
So St. Viator, so strange to me. They look really good on film. They are so good at going 20-20, and then they find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I know the coaches. Coach Gold is probably really frustrated with that because they look on video like they should be better than what they are. Or what
they look athletic for sure.
Yeah,
yes,
what their record says.
Got some players.
Yeah. So, but a nice win for Bennett in the purple at St. Viator. So, like I said, Bennett goes. I think Bennett hosts Mount Carmel this week, so that's going to be a big challenge for Bennett. And St. Viator plays St. Ignatius, so
that'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, so Bennett moves to 3-1, and I think St. Viator 1-3, maybe
1-3.
Yeah, 1-3. So we'll see how that goes next week, but a good win for Bennett.
Okay. All right, so the Marmion de La Salle game, and you and I talked about this. Well, obviously, we talked about all the games in our prognosticus episode this past week, but we figured and we predicted that Marmion would come out victorious in this, and they did. They essentially kind of routed de La Salle in this game. They beat them 48-14. The game was over by halftime. Marmion, I think, scored 3 first quarter touchdowns. They were up 20-0, then scored a couple more touchdowns to build up. I think it was 34-8 at halftime, and then they kind of took their foot off the gas after that, and coasted to a 48-14 win. De La Salle again. They had some moments in this game. They've got some talent, some young talent. I think we have to keep saying that the talent that they do have right now is a lot younger, really sophomores and freshmen in some instances. So, they're playing against some more experienced teams and some more experienced talent, and it just kind of shows in some of these games. So, but I give them credit for their showing up, Dan, this year, and they're playing hard from what I can see on some of the film. And what was that thing you've said last couple episodes? What do they have to do?
Stick with it.
Stick with it. That's it.
Stick with it.
Hashtag stick with it.
Yes.
That's exactly what I felt in watching some of the clips in this. I thought, they're close. They're close to being able to compete. Some of these guys got to get a little bit older, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, all of that stuff. But if they stick with it, I think we're going to see something different from De La Salle going forward. But not in this game. Marmion goes to 3-1, I believe, with a 48-14 win over De La Salle.
All right, Joe. Do you want to do the other red division game, Leo and
Marian Catholic?
Yeah. We'll wrap up the red then, and then I'll finish with the white.
I'll do that. So Marian Catholic, another team, Leo, that I feel like is on the cusp of something here. They've got a lot of talent. They do not have a lot of numbers, right? Which I think is a problem for them at this point. So, Marian Catholic eventually wore down Leo in this game, and Marian Catholic, wins pretty convincingly, 35-14. But Leo started out pretty strong. They were up 8-0, at the beginning of the game. They went down then by 2 touchdowns, but they came back and scored again. So I think Coach Theo Hopkins has Leo on the right path too here. And, if he can continue kind of develop some of the talent that he has there, I think we're going to hear some good things about Leo. Now they're 2-2. So, they've got a chance here to get a couple more wins. Marian Catholic finally gets their first win. They go to 1-3. But both of these teams, their schedules get really tough from here on out over the next 5 games in the Chicago Catholic League. So, if they do win another game, and I'm saying either of these teams, it's going to be maybe a bit of an upset, right? Over whoever they're playing. So, but I do like what I see from both of the teams. I think, Marian Catholic has some talent too, at the quarterback position, at the running back position, but I just feel like, I don't know, Marian Catholic, we talked about teams getting CCL'd.
Yes.
I think Marian Catholic is one of those teams this year, along with some others as well.
Yeah,
but
Marist would say that.
Marist would say that. Maybe St. Rita would say that too.
Right.
We'll see. DePaul Prep.
Yeah.
But I feel like Marian Catholic, from a standpoint of maybe having just a talent level that is just a notch below some of the other teams in the Chicago Catholic League, but I feel like they're right there. If they get a break here and there, that they might be able to pull off a couple more wins. Same thing with Leo. If they can surprise some people, I think, with some of the talent they have on their team, and if they can string together a couple of big plays or a couple of big series, you never know. They might get a couple more wins throughout the year.
Yeah, a lot of these teams, Joe, in the red, they right now they're in that can we do it phase. They don't quite believe. Once they start to believe, that'll propel them another step.
Yeah,
I think so too. They're competent, but they don't believe. So they have to get something to believe. They need a win like St. Pat's had this past weekend.
Right, exactly.
It's a statement for them. But Joe, moving on to the white division. So Carmel defeated St. Lawrence 21-14, and it was really evenly matched this game. And this was one where I just saw the highlights, didn't really see it a ton, but it was 3 interceptions, and they were big interceptions. By Carmel's defense that seemed to be the difference maker. Gave them really, really good field position, and was tough for St. Lawrence to overcome. So a big win for Carmel. I think they needed that. I know St. Lawrence would have liked to have kind of stacked some wins here, but Carmel gets a 21-14 victory, and a big one within the division, as this division is just shaping up like we thought to just be a really tough one with Montini and Fenwick as well. Mentioning both of those teams, that was probably the best game that I had a chance to recap. Montini wins another game that comes down to the wire, and their ability to stop these 2-point conversions and last second touchdowns right at the goal line is just unbelievable.
Let's give their defense credit again.
Yes. And you know what? They're a great example to some of these teams because their belief is through the roof.
Right.
You know, they just do not believe. And I think Fenwick's probably pretty similar, which is why they came back.
So too.
Yeah, they were down and kind of stormed back in this game, but couldn't get that 2-point conversion. Jamin Williams was great again, 335 yards in the loss, but just puts up incredible numbers, having a great season. These are two teams that are both going to be in the playoffs. They're both going to cause a lot of problems in the playoff. Montini got great defense from Santino Tenuta, which seems to be something every week. He's a heck of a player. You know,
we like our Santinos.
Santinos, he's a heck of a player, and they get another. You know, their wins are exciting, and I guess since we've been there, we kind of know some of the stuff that goes on around Montini. It was reported that the halftime show fireworks were just outstanding. Like
why doesn't that surprise me? Yeah.
4th of July level, outstanding. And so I know they got, touchdown receptions from, I think Nico Castaldo had one. And I
think CJ Harkins had one.
I saw the other receiver's name.
Ortegon?
Oh yeah, Damasio Ortegon. Yes.
Yeah.
So, but a great win for Montini. They remain undefeated. So, they were, I think, about our picks early on in the years who potentially could go undefeated. So Montini's still in that.
Yeah.
So really good games in the white, and a good wrap for the Chicago Catholic League.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, but and as you just mentioned, Dan, some really good defensive performances this week, right?
Yes.
And I think we need to talk about.
It's that time.
It's that time. We need to talk about Zuko and Zuko's our Zuko's Dog of the Week award for top defensive performance in the league, but not just all about stats and anything like that. I mean, it's about people that you and I watch, and we just say, here's a guy who dominated the game, changed the outcome of the game, just jumped off the film, whatever it might be. It's more than just stats. It is somebody who really showed up and showed out over the course of the game this past week.
So, Joe, I've got a couple nominees, and then if you have any, you can read yours. But mention some of these guys. Starting with Santino Tenuta, double-digit tackles, a couple sacks, tackles for loss, just flying all over the place. Really, he is a game changer, and he is a guy that makes a difference for Montini's defense. 3-year starter, having another great season. So Santino is part of the dog pound this week.
Yeah. For sure.
For St. Francis, Jalen Torres and James McGrath. Jalen Torres he is really, really good in the center of that defensive line for St. Francis. Gets off blocks. He's a big guy, but moves really well. Gets off blocks, uses his hands, and he races the ball carrier when he gets his hands on him. He makes a ton of plays from his he's either playing the one technique or the three, but definitely a difference maker. Another one, interior defensive lineman, Caleb Tucker. I mentioned him.
Yeah.
He jumped off the film a little bit. Like I said, St. Ignatius they block, and there were a few times they got him a little bit. I know that playing those types of teams as a D lineman, they come off the field and they'll say to you, I think they had 3 guys on me. when the players come running off the field, and it does feel like that.
They only can play 11, so I know they don't have 18 players out there.
3 on you and 3 on him, and
Right.
The linebacker said there was 3 on him too.
Yeah.
So, which is just what St. Ignatius wants you to believe. But but Caleb Tucker, he's a monster in the middle, and he really eliminates a lot of what teams try to do inside. Before I do it, do you have any other nominees?
You know what? The one game that I felt like somebody or a defense that is able to hold Loyola and we know the firepower they have on the offensive side of the ball. A defense that is able to hold them to 6 points, I think, is worthy, and there's probably several players worthy on their team. So I'm not going to say, what I'm going to King Liggins.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And several
Same
of the
type
players.
of guy.
Yes.
Yeah, same type of guy that big guy, Illinois commit, uses his hands well moves really well for a big guy. Love guys when guys can get off blocks, do their responsibility, but get off blocks.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. And guys who play defensive line using their hands really well, because that's not easy for high school players either. But you mentioned Brother Rice.
Yeah, I did.
It's pretty clear that this week, a player who dominated the game and really stood out defensively, and is this week's Zuko's Dog of the Week winner is Cam McGee from Brother Rice.
Absolutely, he had an outstanding game.
Yep. Yeah, there are a few sophomores, Joe, who, and I don't want to put this on these kids, but they're really good. Like I think you're going to be hearing their names for a long time.
Yeah. Are you talking beyond their high school and college careers, Dan?
Like I said, I don't want to put that on them, but
all right.
There's things that you see. It's like, wow, this is a different level of player, and there are a bunch of them across every age in this league, and in this blue division, it's unbelievable. So he was great. At 2.5 sacks I saw, just dominating, big hits, gets there with bad intentions when he does get there. He's a big guy already as a sophomore, 6'3", 235, still looks really thin, can still really move. So he's got great technique to go alongside outstanding athleticism. He's already a monster, but he's even going to be a bigger one in the next, as his career progresses. So Cam McGee, Zuko's Dog of the Week, Brother Rice.
Zuko's Dog of the Week. So there's one other thing I want to say about Cam McGee, Dan, and it's it's not often that you see a player that affects the game so completely on the defensive side of the ball,
right,
as he did this past week. I just felt like, nobody could block him. He was all over the field. He was blocking passes. He was sacking. He was making tackles, tackles for loss. I just thought, this is a player who just affected the whole game and really contributed to, shutting down Loyola completely. So just an outstanding performance by him.
Is this our first sophomore to win it?
Wow.
That's a good question.
I think it is. I think it is.
To review, but that's the thing that kind of amazes me too, having coached for a long time and understanding, like, when you see a sophomore and you kind of have some discussions, could he move up? Could he play on this level? Do we want to do that to him? And to see someone that just dominates, is just incredible as a sophomore. So
it is.
So congratulations to Cam.
Congratulations to Cam. All right. So that'll do it for this week's recap on the Varsity Voices and our Zuko's Dog of the Week winner, Cam McGee. If you were at a game and you took some clips or got some stats and that kind of thing, make sure you check in with us every week and send those types of things to us, whether it's on social media or via email, whatever it might be. We'd love to feature your angles or your athletes. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe wherever you listen from, and catch any of we've got video extras out there, sometimes on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So make sure you follow us on all social media as well. I'm Joe Frevaletti here with my co-host Dan Frevaletti, and thank you for riding along with us with this episode, and we will see you midweek with our prognosticus and previews and picks. Thank you for listening.